Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of your sources and extract the most important nuggets of knowledge.
That's right.
Today, we're embarking on an extraordinary journey. It spans millions of years of human history, really,
Uh-huh.
from the punishing cold faced by our ancient ancestors, way back, all the way to the cutting-edge security challenges of modern airports.
Quite a leap, isn't it?
It really is. It's a fascinating look at human resilience, vulnerability, and, well, our relentless drive to survive and secure our world.
And it's a perfect example, really, of how seemingly disparate topics like, ancient human biology on one hand and contemporary aviation security on the other are actually deeply interconnected.
Just so.
Well, by the fundamental principles of survival and risk mitigation. That's the core thread.
Okay.
Our mission today is to uncover the surprising links between how our bodies adapt to extreme conditions and then how we build these really complex systems to protect ourselves in a world of, constantly evolving threats.
Hi.
We'll be drawing insights from archaeological studies, some fascinating aerospace medical research, and comprehensive airport security guidelines.
Exactly. We'll explore questions like, did early humans really hibernate? I mean, seriously.
That's a big one.
Yeah. And what extreme physiological challenges do plane stowaways face? It sounds terrifying.
It truly is.
And how do airports try to stay one step ahead of those who wish to bypass security? So you're in for a captivating deep dive.
Okay, let's unpack this. In an age without central heating or, Gore-Tex jackets, how did early humans survive those brutal, unforgiving winters?
Yeah, it's hard to even imagine.
Right. The sources suggest some ingenious methods, starting with, maybe the simplest yet incredibly effective one.
Indeed.
Right.
One of the earliest and most direct ways involved leveraging animal resources, basically using what was around them.
Makes sense.
A study in the Journal of Human Evolution found some really compelling evidence that for an astonishing 300,000 years.
Wow, 300,000? Yes, 300,000 years. Hominids during the Middle Pleistocene, particularly those living in northwestern Europe, used bear hides.
Their hides for warmth.
As a primary means of protection against severe cold.
Yeah. And this isn't just a minor detail. It's actually the oldest documented example of using bear resources anywhere in the world.
That's incredible.
It really indicates a long-standing and critically important adaptation to the harsh realities of, glacial periods.
It shows incredible resourcefulness.
Exactly. This practice showcases an amazing level of ingenuity in using available natural materials for survival.
Yeah.
Our ancestors were remarkably clever problem solvers.
That's an astonishingly long time.
Yeah.
Really shows that resourcefulness. But the sources mention something even more surprising. Human hibernation.
Yes.
That sounds like science fiction. Is that truly what the evidence suggests? Could our bodies really have done that?
This is where it gets really intriguing, and it's certainly a heavily debated topic within the scientific community. Yeah. It's not settled science by any means.
Right. The controversial hypothesis, championed by researchers like Antonis Bartsiokas, proposes that early humans, possibly even Neanderthals, might have possessed the physiological capacity to enter a state. Well, something like hibernation.
Like hibernation.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the evidence?
The evidence supporting this comes from meticulous examination of ancient human bones, specifically fossilized remains.
Right.
These bones revealed patterns of damage and lesions consistent with conditions like rickets, chronic kidney disease, hyperparathyroidism.
So, like, bone problems.
Yes, and general mineral and bone disorder. The underlying theory posits that these conditions could very well be a physiological response, maybe the body not adapting perfectly or optimally to a prolonged state of reduced metabolic activity.
So the hibernation wasn't perfect, it caused damage.
Potentially, like an imperfect or challenged attempt at hibernation. This metabolic slowdown, the theory goes, would have been a crucial survival mechanism against starvation during periods of extreme glaciation, which, as we know, severely limited food resources.
So what does this all mean for us today? How could a human body possibly enter a state like that, and why would bone damage be a clue? It sounds almost like our bodies were kind of breaking down in the attempt.
Precisely. That's one way to look at it. The physiological theory underpinning this suggests that humans might have retained, or perhaps even evolved, the ability to enter a metabolic state where the body drastically consumes less energy than normal.
Okay, slowing everything down.
Right. This lowered energy demand would permit survival during prolonged periods when food was scarce, particularly in challenging environments like caves, which offered constant darkness and very high moisture levels, like 100%.
In the bone damage.
The specific bone patterns observed, things like cycles of interrupted growth and subsequent healing, they remarkably mimic those documented in known hibernating animals,
Wow.
which suggests the body was under extreme stress, perhaps struggling to cope with this induced metabolic slowdown.
Interesting.
Researchers, including Bartsiokas, are keenly looking for specific biological markers, things like the presence and distribution of brown fat.
Brown fat. What's that?
It's a specialized adipose tissue. It's crucial for hibernators when they arouse from their torpor state. It generates heat without shivering.
And humans have it.
Yes. The fact that humans still possess brown fat, although in varying amounts and places, lends some biological credence to this intriguing idea that we might carry remnants of an ancient, deep-seated physiological capacity.
Hmm.
The grain of discovery here, as Polya might put it, is probing the very limits of human physiological adaptation beyond what we typically understand.
Could these bone patterns from sites like Cima de los Huesos really be a definitive marker for hibernation, though?
Yeah.
Or are there other interpretations researchers consider for such damage? And how widely accepted is this hibernation theory among anthropologists, say, like Agustin Fuentes?
That's a great question, and the debate is absolutely crucial here, as with any, groundbreaking scientific hypothesis.
Right.
While the bone evidence is indeed compelling because it's so similar to patterns in hibernating animals, critics rightly argue that alternative explanations for these specific bone pathologies could exist.
Like what?
Well, for instance, severe nutritional deficiencies or other chronic illnesses unrelated to hibernation might also present similar bone indicators.
Okay.
However, proponents of the hibernation theory, like Bartsiokas, they emphasize that it's the unique combination of these specific conditions observed together in these ancient remains that is particularly suggestive.
The whole package, not just one thing.
Exactly. Suggestive of a body under extreme metabolic stress consistent with an imperfect or challenged state of torpor. But is it universally accepted? No. Many anthropologists and archaeologists remain cautious, waiting for more definitive evidence.
Makes sense.
However, the theory also invites us to consider a broader concept: skeletal plasticity and climatic adaptation in primates. As evolutionary anthropologist Laura Buck's research implies, significant climate change in Europe, maybe 16 million years ago, leading to severe cold, well, that might have driven certain ancestral apes to acquire or enhance hibernation capabilities.
60 million years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. The idea is that this survival trait may be enabling them to convert fresh fruits into fat for energy during periods of scarcity could have been genetically preserved and carried forward, possibly within human genes.
So it's a deep ancestral thing, potentially.
Potentially. This hypothesis, therefore, prompts us to probe the very limits of human physiological adaptation, pushing beyond what we typically understand about our species' capacity for survival in extreme conditions. It's about how much our bodies can truly adapt when pushed to the absolute brink.
This idea of human hibernation, it really does feel like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Astronauts sleeping for years on long journeys.
Right, like cryosleep.
Exactly. Is there a concrete connection between these ancient theories and modern science, or is it purely speculative?
Well, what's fascinating here is the potential for a profound physiological continuum, a link connecting our ancient past to the cutting edge of modern medical science.
Okay.
The concept of suspended animation, which describes a state where human metabolism severely slows down, typically due to rapid and profound cooling. Well, it's not merely a theoretical ancient adaptation or some futuristic fantasy.
No.
It's also a phenomenon occasionally observed in contemporary contexts. We've seen it in rare, remarkable survivors of extreme conditions.
Like who?
Like airplane stowaways, for example. Those who somehow endure the brutal cold and lack of oxygen in an aircraft's wheel well.
Right, we hear about those rare cases.
In those incredibly rare instances, their body temperatures have dropped to astonishingly low levels, sometimes as low as 26 degrees Celsius, that's 79 Fahrenheit.
Which should be fatal.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Far below what would normally be considered a fatal temperature. Yet these individuals have survived, effectively entering a natural, albeit accidental, hibernation-like state where their vital functions are severely suppressed.
Yeah.
This allows them to endure conditions that should be unsurvivable. This capacity for physiological shutdown, known as suspended animation, underscores an innate, if not fully understood, resilience within the human body.
So modern research is actually exploring this and trying to induce it.
Yes.
For what purposes? Beyond just surviving in freezing conditions, are we talking about real-life sci-fi here?
Yes, there's significant ongoing research into this very phenomenon. Experts like Dr. Antonis Spartsiokas, whose work we just discussed regarding the ancient bones,
Right.
are actively trying to establish the precise mechanisms of human hibernation or torpor. This research isn't just about historical curiosity or understanding our past. It has profound implications for the future of medicine and human exploration.
How so?
Modern experiments are indeed attempting to induce these states through technical means, using controlled methods to cool the body and slow its metabolism. Therapeutic hypothermia, they call it sometimes.
And the applications.
Oh, they're potentially vast and transformative. In medicine, inducing a temporary state of suspended animation could revolutionize treatments for a wide array of conditions.
Like what?
Chronic diseases like diabetes and obesity, for instance. By significantly reducing metabolic demand and stress on the body's systems, it could give the body time to heal or respond better to treatment.
Okay, interesting. And space travel.
Ah, yes. For long-duration space travel, it could enable missions that were once deemed impossible due to resource constraints.
Oh.
By minimizing the need for food, water, and oxygen for astronauts over extended periods. This would, as you mentioned, make those science fiction scenarios, astronauts waking up years later feeling like only weeks have passed, a tangible reality.
That's mind-blowing.
It is. Bartsiokas explicitly states that lots of PhDs are needed to study this complex phenomenon. That underscores both its scientific complexity and its immense potential impact on future human endeavors.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, how might successfully inducing such states in humans revolutionize long-duration space travel? Like really change the game, echoing those sci-fi scenarios. Could this ancient survival trait truly be the key to our future in space?
This raises an important question, doesn't it? It pushes the boundaries of our imagination and scientific ambition.
Yeah.
Successfully inducing a state of human suspended animation or therapeutic hypothermia could fundamentally alter the paradigm of long-duration space travel.
In what way?
Currently, missions to Mars or beyond present immense logistical challenges.
Ah.
The sheer volume of resources, food, water, oxygen, even psychological support for prolonged isolation required for years-long journeys is astronomical.
Right. The supplies needed are enormous.
Exactly. And astronauts also face the physiological toll of microgravity and radiation exposure over extended periods.
So how does cooling help?
Induced hypothermia could mitigate many of these issues.
It is.
During such a state, the physiological changes are profound. Cerebral function progressively deteriorates, with both cerebral blood flow and metabolism falling by approximately 6–7% for every 1 degree Celsius decrease in core temperature.
That's a significant drop.
It is. Even mild hypothermia can induce decreased mentation, confusion, disorientation, amnesia, poor judgment, clumsiness,
Not ideal for piloting a spacecraft.
while they'd be in a state of induced torpor. As core temperature drops further, below about 27 Celsius or 80 Fahrenheit, a deep coma typically occurs. And astonishingly, EEG activity, brain waves, gradually cease below 20 Celsius or 68 Fahrenheit.
Wow. So effectively shut down.
But paradoxically, this physiological shutdown is protective. The body's demand for oxygen and nutrients plummets. This significantly reduces the cumulative effects of radiation exposure and muscle atrophy that would normally occur over years.
Ah, I see. Lower metabolism, less damage.
Precisely. This reduced metabolic state means astronauts would consume minimal resources, making long-haul flights far more feasible. They could effectively sleep through vast stretches of interstellar space.
And arrive.
Okay. Arrive at their destination with minimal biological aging or resource depletion. The medical dictum, "no one is dead until warm and dead," is particularly relevant here.
Meaning?
It highlights the remarkable potential for revival even from core temperatures as low as 15.2 Celsius, around 59 Fahrenheit, where the body's vital functions are so suppressed a person might appear lifeless.
Incredible.
This inherent capacity for physiological shutdown is the symmetrical echo, you could say, of ancient adaptation. It offers a tantalizing glimpse into a future where our ancient survival traits become the very tools for our most ambitious leaps into the cosmos.
So waking up on Mars after what felt like a few weeks.
Imagine a crew arriving at Mars, having experienced only a few weeks or months subjectively, despite years passing objectively, ready to embark on their mission with minimal physiological decline. That's the promise. Hashtag 1.3, the death zone and human limits at altitude.
This conversation about extreme survival, it naturally leads us to another harsh environment where human limits are severely tested. High altitude.
Ah, yes, the thin air.
We often hear about the death zone on Mount Everest. What exactly defines it, and what are the profound physiological challenges people face there?
Right. Well, what's fascinating here is the precise physiological impact of reduced atmospheric pressure as you go higher. Altitude is categorized.
How so?
There's high altitude, which is about 1,500 to 3,500 meters, or roughly 5,000 to 11,500 feet. Then very high altitude, 3,500 to 5,500 meters, that's 11,500 to 18,000 feet. And finally, extreme altitude, which is anything above 5,500 meters, or 18,000 feet.
Okay. And the death zone.
The death zone, a term originally conceived as the lethal zone back in 1953 by a Swiss physician,
Yeah.
Eduard Wistunat. Well, it refers to altitudes above 8,000 meters. That's 26,000 feet.
8,000 meters.
Yes, up there, the amount of oxygen is simply insufficient to sustain human life for an extended time. All 14 of the world's 8,000ers, the highest peaks, are in this zone.
It's a place where survival is measured in hours, right? Not days.
Exactly. Without supplemental oxygen, the clock is ticking very fast.
So what actually happens to the body in this zone? What are the immediate and long-term consequences of such extreme hypoxia, that lack of oxygen?
Well, the challenges are critical and immediate. At altitudes above 7,500 meters, so just below the death zone proper, sleeping becomes very difficult and digesting food is near impossible.
Why is that?
The body basically shuts down non-essential functions to conserve oxygen and energy for survival. Digestion takes a lot of energy.
Right.
Up in the death zone itself, the risk of potentially fatal conditions skyrockets. Things like high-altitude pulmonary edema, or HCE.
Fluid in the lungs.
Yes, where fluid fills the lungs. And high-altitude cerebral edema, HACE, where the brain swells. Both can be rapidly fatal if you don't descend immediately.
Scary stuff.
And the body undergoes rapid physiological responses just to cope. The heart beats faster to circulate the oxygen-poor blood more quickly. Stroke volume slightly decreases. And as I said, digestion is suppressed to prioritize cardiopulmonary reserves.
And it all comes down to oxygen pressure.
Fundamentally, yes. The partial pressure of oxygen, the PO2, drops significantly. Consciousness is inevitably lost if PaO2 falls below about 30 millimeter Hg, which happens above 30,000 feet.
So well within the death zone altitude.
Absolutely. And prolonged exposure, even if you survive initially, can lead to permanent brain damage and irreversible cognitive decline. It's just an incredibly hostile environment for the human body.
Given this information, how does the body attempt to acclimatize? If you spend time at lower high altitudes first. And what about those remarkable genetic adaptations in populations that have lived at high altitudes for generations? Is there a difference between temporary adaptation and long-term evolutionary changes?
Yes, there's a crucial difference. Let's talk about climatization first, the body's temporary adjustment. Full acclimatization requires days or even weeks at a given altitude.
What's happening physiologically?
The body gradually compensates for something called respiratory alkalosis, a change in blood pH caused by breathing faster, mainly through the kidneys excreting bicarbonate. This process takes about 4 days at any given altitude.
Can you speed it up?
Yes, it can be enhanced by drugs like acetazolamide, which is a common medication climbers use to prevent or treat altitude sickness.
And other changes?
Over time, the body undergoes various other physiological changes. You see lower lactate production during exercise, decreased plasma volume, which concentrates the blood slightly, increased hematocrit, that's polycythemia, meaning more red blood cells.
To carry more oxygen?
Exactly. Increased red blood cell mass, higher concentration of capillaries and muscle tissue for better oxygen delivery, increased myoglobin, mitochondria, aerobic enzymes, all helping the body use the available oxygen more efficiently. There's also hypoxic pulmonary vasoconstriction.
Which means?
The blood vessels in the lungs constrict, which increases pulmonary artery pressure and helps shunt blood to better oxygenated parts of the lungs.
Okay, that's acclimatization. What about long-term adaptation?
That's where evolution comes in, and it's even more remarkable. Genetic changes have been detected in populations that have lived at high altitudes for millennia in Tibet, the Andes, and among the Amhara people of Ethiopia.
What kind of changes?
They show a good idea. So first, ancient survival. Early humans, specifically those Middle Pleistocene hominids in northwestern Europe, were using bear hides for warmth as far back as 300,000 years ago. That's the oldest global example we know of.
Incredible ingenuity. Then the hibernation idea.
Right, the human hibernation hypothesis. This is still debated, but it suggests early humans might have hibernated or entered a torpor state to survive famine and cold. The evidence comes from bone pathologies, things like rickets, chronic kidney disease, hyperparathyroidism, and mineral bone disorder, which some researchers like Antonis Bartsiokas and Laura Buck link to the stresses of imperfect hibernation.
And this links to modern ideas.
Yes, through suspended animation in modern context. The concept of severely slowed metabolism due to rapid cooling isn't just ancient history. We see it in rare stowaway survivors with body temps as low as 26 degrees C or 79 degrees Fahrenheit. And modern research, including Dr. Bartsiokis' work, is exploring how to induce such states for medical therapies, maybe for diabetes or obesity, and potentially for long-duration space travel. Brown fat seems key here.
When we move to altitude.
Correct. High altitude effects. We learned altitude is categorized high, very high, extreme. It can lead to acute mountain sickness, HAPE, and ACE. And the death zone above 8,000 meters or 26,000 feet signifies insufficient oxygen for sustained life. Physiologically, the body reacts with increased heart rate and suppressed digestion, among other things.
Well, we can adapt somewhat.
We can, both through short-term acclimatization, the body compensating over days, like through renal excretion of bicarbonate, and long-term adaptation. These are genetic changes seen in populations like those in Tibet, the Andes, and Amhara, resulting in permanent physiological differences in oxygen respiration and blood circulation systems. Polycythemia, more red blood cells, is one example of an adaptation, though different groups adapted differently.
Great. Let's hit the key terms for our flashcard list.
Okay, Middle Pleistocene hominids, early human ancestors, bear hides. Oldest evidence for warmth use, 300,000 years ago. Human hibernation hypothesis. Theory of ancient humans entering reduced metabolic state. Rickets, chronic kidney disease, hyperparathyroidism. Bone conditions potentially linked to problematic hibernation. Antonis Bartsiokas, key researcher in human hibernation theory. Brown fat. Tissue crucial for arousal from hibernation. Suspended animation. Induced hypothermia for extreme survival medical use. Hypothermia, body temperature dropping below normal, for example, 26 degrees C, 79 degrees Fahrenheit in survivors. Death zone. Altitudes above 8,000 meters, 26,000 feet, insufficient oxygen. HAPS, high altitude pulmonary edema and high altitude cerebral edema, severe altitude illnesses. Acclimatization, short-term physiological adjustments to high altitude, adaptation, long-term, often genetic physiological changes in high altitude populations. Polycythemia, increased red blood cell mass, and adaptation to high altitude.
Okay, from the extreme conditions of ancient winters and high mountains, we transition to a modern, equally perilous scenario. It tragically combines elements of both human endurance and vulnerability. The phenomenon of airplane stowaways.
Yeah, a really grim topic, unfortunately.
It's not just a security issue, is it? It's a desperate gamble with life itself.
Absolutely. And what's deeply disturbing here is the sheer scale of the risk involved in these desperate attempts. Between 1947 and 2015, the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, they documented 113 wheel-well stowaway attempts.
113 attempts. What about survival?
The fatality rate for these attempts is staggering, an alarming 76% overall.
3 out of 4. Gone.
At least. And for those attempting to stow away in the wheel wells of modern jet airliners, which fly higher and faster, that rate climbs even higher, closer to a grim 90% fatality rate.
90%.
Most of the victims are tragically young men, and a significant number remain unidentified. It highlights the anonymity and profound desperation that characterize their fatal journeys. It's almost, as you said, a guaranteed death sentence.
That's a horrific statistic. How do these individuals, often with zero aviation knowledge, even manage to get onto aircraft unnoticed? Sometimes even teenagers. It just seems impossible.
Well, the methods they use expose some critical and frankly concerning security gaps within airport perimeters and operations.
Like what?
Often, individuals gain access by trying to blend in with legitimate airport personnel, like flight crews, or sometimes by attempting to join traveling families at departure gates, sort of leveraging the chaos and crowd dynamics.
Sneaking through.
Or in some cases, they even pick up discarded boarding passes. There was that famous serial stowaway, Marilyn Hartman, who did that repeatedly. But more alarmingly and far more perilously, they cling directly into the aircraft undercarriages while planes are either preparing for takeoff on the tarmac or undergoing routine maintenance, often under the cover of darkness or in less visible areas of the airfield.
Directly into the landing gear bay.
Yes. CCTV footage has captured chilling and heartbreaking scenes. There was that 14-year-old Ivorian schoolboy, Anijibahi Laurent Barthélemy.
I remember hearing about that.
In January 2020, he was filmed clinging to the landing gear of an Air France Boeing 777 during takeoff from Abidjan. He was tragically found dead in the undercarriage when the plane arrived in Paris.
So heartbreaking.
And another concerning case involved a 26-year-old named Jeffrey Gutierrez. He was arrested in November 2021 after emerging from an electrical compartment of an American Airlines flight.
Not even the wheel well.
Right. And alarmingly, he was arrested again in May 2023 for trespassing into another American Airlines compartment containing critical components. It underscores persistent vulnerabilities and the determination of some individuals to exploit them, as experts like Jeff Price have pointed out.
Beyond the physical means of access and the immediate danger, what are the core motivations driving individuals to undertake such an incredibly dangerous and often fatal journey?
Yeah.
How does this connect to broader socioeconomic issues, maybe like human trafficking?
Yeah, this really delves into the profound human desperation behind these acts. The core motivations are overwhelmingly socioeconomic.
Poverty. Escape.
Primarily, yes. They're attempting to escape extreme poverty and pervasive hardship in their home countries. They're often seeking economic opportunities abroad that are simply unavailable to them otherwise. Or sometimes they're fleeing persecution and conflict, desperately seeking refuge and a chance for a safer life.
And this desperation makes them vulnerable.
Highly vulnerable. And yes, this phenomenon is deeply connected to broader socioeconomic issues, including the dark underbelly of human trafficking.
How so?
Many of these perilous journeys are facilitated by human traffickers, sometimes called snakeheads, like the notorious Sister Ping who ran a huge smuggling operation.
Right.
These traffickers exploit the vulnerability and desperation of individuals, charging exorbitant fees for passage and often subjecting them to horrific conditions. They effectively treat human lives as cargo.
Is it just aviation?
No, the issue is global, extending beyond aviation. We see reports from various seaports, particularly in Europe, of illegal migrants trying to stow away on lorries to reach the UK, often allowing themselves to be locked in trailers and containers.
Just incredible risks.
The persistence of these attempts, despite the terrifyingly high fatality rate, starkly underscores the profound desperation that drives them. But while the odds are overwhelmingly against them, there have been incredibly rare exceptions.
The survivors.
Yes, highlighting the inherent human will to survive, even against impossible odds. There was Fidel Maruhi, who survived a flight from Tahiti to LA back in 2000. He was found with a body temperature of just 26 Celsius, 79 Fahrenheit.
Amazing.
And Yahya Abdi, a 16-year-old Somali boy, who survived a 5-hour flight in the wheel well of a Hawaiian Airlines jet from San Jose to Maui in 2013. Their stories, though exceptionally rare, underscore the incredible resilience of the human body under extreme stress. Hashtag 2.2.
The physiological gauntlet of the wheel well.
So, for those few who survive the initial access and aren't immediately crushed by retracting landing gear, what exactly are they enduring inside that wheel well? It sounds like a torture chamber designed by nature itself, a truly horrifying experience. It really is. This is precisely where the extreme external environment meets the unprotected human body in a brutal and usually lethal physiological gauntlet. What's astonishing here is the precise, devastating combination of multiple lethal factors working together. It makes survival virtually impossible for most.
Okay, break it down for us. What are the biggest factors?
First, there's extreme hypoxia, a profound lack of oxygen.
Right, the altitude.
Exactly. At altitudes above just 8,000 feet, the partial pressure of oxygen drops to levels insufficient to maintain normal brain consciousness. Now, consider typical jet cruising altitudes, 35,000 to 38,000 feet.
Much higher.
Way higher. At these heights, the atmospheric pressure is roughly 1/5 that at sea level, and the partial oxygen pressure is far, far below what's necessary to sustain human life.
How low are we talking?
Consciousness is inevitably lost if the partial pressure of arterial blood oxygen, the PaO2, falls below 30 millimeter Hg. That threshold is crossed above 30,000 feet.
So anyone up there passes out.
Essentially, yes. Any stowaway in an unpressurized wheel well is plunged into an environment physiologically akin to the death zone for mountaineers, but much more rapidly and with even less chance for acclimatization.
Okay, lack of oxygen. What else?
Second, there's the extreme cold. Temperatures in wheel wells at cruising altitude plummet to unimaginable lows. We're talking minus 54 Celsius, which is minus 65 Fahrenheit, down to maybe minus 63 Celsius or minus 81 Fahrenheit.
Unbelievably cold.
Survivors, in the rare instances they're found alive, are often covered in thick frost and ice. It's a clear sign of severe hypothermia.
And what does that do to the body?
This extreme cold causes cerebral function to progressively deteriorate. Even mild hypothermia induces confusion, disorientation, amnesia. As the core temp drops further, you get poor judgment, lethargy, clumsiness. Below about 27 Celsius, 80 Fahrenheit, a deep coma typically occurs.
And brain function stocks.
EEG activity, brainwaves, gradually cease below 20 Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit. So this combination of lack of oxygen and extreme cold rapidly overwhelms the body's systems.
And it's not just the cold and lack of air, right? There are other grave dangers, often mechanical, that compound the odds against survival. It sounds like a perfect storm of deadly conditions.
Absolutely. The physiological assault is compounded by severe mechanical and physical dangers. It's not just the environment.
What else?
One critical danger is decompression sickness, DCS, and nitrogen gas embolism.
Like the bends for divers.
Exactly like the bends, but caused by rapid ascent to high altitude instead of rapid ascent from depth. These conditions can develop quickly at altitudes above 20,000 feet.
How does that happen?
Think of your body like a soda bottle. At ground level pressure, nitrogen gas is dissolved in your blood and tissues. When the aircraft ascends rapidly, the external pressure drops dramatically.
Right.
That dissolved nitrogen starts to come out of solution, forming tiny bubbles. These bubbles can form around irregularities in blood vessel walls and travel throughout the body, potentially blocking blood flow or interfering with nerve function.
That sounds bad.
It is. The sources, particularly stat pearls, call this aerospace decompression illness, or ADI, to distinguish it from diving DCS because the onset can be so rapid at altitude. Fat tissues are particularly susceptible because nitrogen dissolves well in fat.
Okay, so hypoxia, cold, the bends.
Yep.
Anything else?
Yes. There's the immediate brutal threat of crushing by landing gear.
Ah, right. When it retracts.
Exactly. Many stowaways are tragically crushed by the massive, complex mechanisms of the landing gear as it retracts into the wheel well shortly after takeoff. This is often an instantaneous and fatal outcome.
Horrifying.
And finally, perhaps most horrifyingly, there's the risk of falling from aircraft. If a stowaway doesn't die immediately but loses consciousness or mobility due to the hypoxia and cold, their body might simply fall out when the landing gear is lowered during the descent phase just before landing.
Oh my God.
This grim outcome has, in some tragic instances, been captured by photographers on the ground. There's the famous case of 14-year-old Keith Sapsford falling from a plane leaving Sydney Airport.
It's just awful. We talked about medical interventions for altitude sickness. Is there a medical protocol or standard treatment for addressing decompression illness, especially for these aerospace-related cases? How effective is it?
Yes, thankfully there is a very specific and effective medical protocol, particularly for what's called Type I aerospace decompression illness, or ADI.
Type I.
Yes, that generally refers to the less severe forms, often involving joint pain or skin manifestations. The United States Air Force developed a well-established protocol.
What does it involve?
It involves administering 2 hours of 100% oxygen at ground level, just breathing pure oxygen.
And that works.
It has shown remarkable efficacy. Studies conducted in altitude chambers demonstrated that 94% of subjects needing treatment for Type I ADI required no further hyperbaric therapy.
Hyperbaric, like the pressure chambers.
Exactly. Hyperbaric therapy involves placing the patient in a specialized chamber where they breathe 100% oxygen at increased atmospheric pressure. It helps redissolve those nitrogen bubbles and get more oxygen to damaged tissues. But the fact that the simple ground-level oxygen protocol is so effective is critical.
Why?
Because it can be started immediately, anywhere. It's also crucial to emphasize that if decompression sickness is suspected based on symptoms, oxygen therapy should be administered promptly.
Don't wait for a definite diagnosis.
Absolutely not. Lack of a definitive diagnosis should not delay treatment, as early intervention significantly improves outcomes. This swift medical response is paramount for ADI, especially since the onset in altitude studies is rapid, very similar to what a stowaway experiences.
Right, the fast descent.
Exactly. It's a clear example of applying scientific understanding of extreme physiological stress combined with research to mitigate severe medical conditions and potentially save lives, even in these unusual circumstances.
The tragic phenomenon of stowaways and their ability to bypass airport defenses really exposes fundamental vulnerabilities, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
It's not just about human desperation, but also about the relentless challenge of securing these vast, complex environments. So let's turn our attention now to how airports are trying to stay one step ahead. What exactly is a perimeter breach from an airport's perspective, and why is it so inherently challenging to prevent?
Right. Here's where it gets truly complex as we look in the precise definition and the inherent difficulties involved. A security breach, as meticulously defined by organizations like the National Safe Skies Alliance,
Who are they?
They're a nonprofit focused on aviation security research and testing, working with airports and government. They define a breach specifically as unauthorized access through the airport perimeter fence, gates, or other physical barriers.
Okay, through the outer defenses.
Exactly, resulting directly in an individual accessing any part of the airfield. It's crucial to note that this definition, for the purposes of their specific study and classification system, intentionally excludes breaches occurring through airport terminals or other secured buildings.
So focus solely on the airfield perimeter.
Correct. The consequences of these perimeter breaches are significant, potentially compromising the security and safety of aircraft, critical airport assets, employees, and the public. The goal of Safe Skies is to help airports make informed decisions about securing that perimeter.
But isn't the ultimate goal 100% security? Why is this such a persistent problem as we see in incidents at major airports like LAX or Charlotte sometimes? It feels like we should be able to prevent every single one.
That raises an important point, and it's a critical one to address head-on. While the aviation industry and security professionals everywhere absolutely strive for maximum security, the sources explicitly state that achieving 100% protection against perimeter breaches is, quite simply, not possible.
Not possible. Why not?
It's not a failure of effort, but rather a recognition of several inherent and complex challenges. Firstly, malicious actors are constantly, relentlessly developing novel and sophisticated approaches to bypass existing security protocols.
The threats keep changing.
Exactly. What was once considered a remote possibility, things like armed attacks, IEDs, active shooters, is now unfortunately at the very forefront of security considerations. This dynamic, ever-evolving threat landscape means security has to continuously adapt and anticipate.
And practically.
From a practical standpoint, airports often encompass vast, expansive, and remote areas, miles and miles of perimeter.
Right.
Many of these areas inherently lack the necessary power connectivity and infrastructure for continuous electronic surveillance, making constant, comprehensive monitoring incredibly difficult and costly.
And people can just climb fences.
While agile trespassers, driven by various motivations, can simply find ways to bypass even enhanced physical barriers. They exploit any tiny fissure crack in the system, as security experts have noted. These are truly evolving threats that demand a proactive and adaptive approach, not a static one. That's why organizations like the National Safe Skies Alliance focus on research and evaluation, acknowledging 100% prevention isn't feasible.
If 100% prevention isn't feasible, what are the primary categories of incidents typically classified as perimeter breaches? And what kind of broader risks do even seemingly nuisance breaches pose beyond just the physical intrusion?
That's a vital distinction for understanding the real-world impact. The sources indicate that many perimeter breaches, while serious, are classified as nuisance incidents rather than direct coordinated terrorist attacks.
Like stowaways.
Exactly. These often involve individuals, like stowaways, seeking passage, or perhaps people who are disoriented, intoxicated, or under mental duress.
And even those are bad, right?
Absolutely. Even these seemingly minor incidents, which might not involve immediate malicious intent, pose significant and unacceptable risks. They unequivocally demonstrate exploitable fissure cracks in an airport's security.
Showing the vulnerabilities.
Precisely. This raises immediate and grave concerns that individuals with far more malicious intent, those planning attacks, sabotage, or other destructive acts, could potentially gain unauthorized access using similar methods.
And what would they target?
The targets for such malicious acts are critical assets, not just aircraft. Think about vital infrastructure, fuel farms, heating and cooling utilities, power utilities, fuel lines, fire stations, anything essential for airport operations.
Okay.
The sources emphasize the critical need for a perimeter breach classification system tailored specifically to the unique airport environment and its regulations.
Why classify them?
This system needs to be based on data from actual breaches and designed to classify incidents based on the consequences of the breach, not just on speculative worst-case scenarios.
Focus on what actually happened.
Right. Such a system needs to be uniform, clearly defined, scalable for airports of all sizes, and granular enough for every type of incident. The goal is to mitigate confusion, provide clarity, and instill confidence that security is being managed effectively, even acknowledging that vulnerabilities exist. Since 100% prevention isn't possible, a robust, adaptive, consequence-based strategy is essential.
So, if perimeter breaches are an undeniable reality, what are airports actually doing on the ground to prevent them or at least mitigate their impact? What are the practical steps beyond just identifying the problem?
This raises an important question because identifying the problem is only the first step. Effective mitigation efforts are indeed multi-layered and systematic. They focus on policy, robust physical measures, and integrated technology.
Okay, let's start with policy.
Firstly, policies and procedures are absolutely foundational. This includes implementing regular but crucially unpredictable perimeter patrols.
Unpredictable, so people can't time them.
Exactly. Conducted by dedicated security personnel, law enforcement, or airport operations staff. Critically, airports also establish strong challenge programs.
Challenge programs?
Yes. These actively encourage every single employee, from baggage handlers to gate agents to executives, to question suspicious persons they encounter and to immediately report any unauthorized individuals or activities. It fosters a pervasive culture of vigilance. Everyone is part of security.
That makes sense. Spreading the responsibility.
And furthermore, community support and awareness programs are also vital. These aim to foster external vigilance and reporting from areas surrounding the airport, effectively extending the eyes and ears of security beyond the fence line itself.
So involving the neighbors.
Right. These policies are often formalized and enforced by authorities like the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, whose guidelines detail comprehensive security requirements for tenants and staff.
Beyond internal policies, what about the actual physical infrastructure? We're talking about miles and miles of fencing. How do airports fortify these extensive perimeters?
That's the second key area, physical security measures. And yes, it's where we see significant investment in engineering. Given the vastness of airport perimeters, a layered approach is essential.
Layered how?
Well, it involves strategically deploying guards at frequently used gates, at any known damaged fence locations, or in designated remote and high-threat areas where electronic surveillance might be limited or less effective.
Boots on the ground.
Exactly. Critically, airports utilize a variety of fence protection barriers, both natural, like ditches or dense vegetation, and man-made.
Like what?
Things like strategically placed berms, those are earthen mounds ditches, robust jersey barriers, bollards, which are sturdy vertical posts, guardrails, and heavy-duty cable barriers.
And what's their purpose?
Their primary purpose is to minimize the speed and force of potential vehicle intrusions and to limit the distance a vehicle can travel onto the airfield after breaching an outer layer. They're designed to absorb energy and stop vehicles before they reach critical areas.
And the fence itself?
Basic fence integrity is also strictly defined. For example, requirements often state no gaps underneath greater than 2 inches, and fence poles must be securely buried deep into the ground or pavement to prevent tunneling or lifting.
Can you give us a clear picture of how some of these more specialized physical barriers work? Like Sally Port gates or crash-rated barriers.
Yeah.
How do they actually function to enhance security in a real-world scenario? Describe their design.
Certainly. Let's elaborate on those as their critical components. Sally Port gates, which are primarily used for vehicle access control, are designed with a 2-gate system. Think of it like an airlock for cars.
Okay.
One gate must fully close behind a vehicle before the second gate in the sequence can open. This ingenious design inherently prevents piggybacking or tailgating, where multiple vehicles or individuals try to enter on a single authorized credential.
Oh, only one car through at a time.
Exactly. This sequential operation significantly increases the time security personnel have to detect and respond to any unauthorized entry attempts. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey's guidelines, for instance, specifically say guard posts should be configured as vehicle sally ports, often requiring climate-controlled, bullet-resistant guard booths, too.
For the guard's safety and visibility.
Right. Beyond sally ports, we see requirements for crash-rated barriers. These are engineered to withstand significant impacts from vehicles.
Examples.
Things like permanently installed vehicle arrestor bed gates. These are systems that can rapidly raise out of or drop into the ground, creating an immediate, impassable barrier. Think heavy-duty metal plates or nets.
Okay.
Similarly, anti-ram high-security fences are specifically designed to withstand vehicle impacts, often using reinforced materials and deeper foundations. These are strategically placed at critical vehicle access points.
What about smaller measures?
Other complementary measures include installing speed bumps to slow vehicles as they approach gates, and also to close potential gaps under gates that agile trespassers might try to squeeze through.
Makes sense.
And perimeter reflectivity and signage play a crucial, often overlooked role. Reflective lights, tape woven into the fence fabric, blinking red lights, maybe solar-powered in remote areas, and reflective signage are strategically placed.
Why?
During darkness, these measures alert and deter public roadway drivers from accidental vehicle breaches, enhancing public safety. But they also increase the visibility of sometimes hard-to-see fence lines, acting as a general deterrent. This multi-layered approach policies, physical barriers, smart design is fundamental to deterring, delaying, and detecting unauthorized access.
So after policies and physical barriers, where does technology fit into this complex security puzzle? It seems like cameras and sensors must be absolutely critical for monitoring those vast airport perimeters.
Absolutely critical. This is where technology truly serves as a crucial force multiplier. It dramatically enhances human capabilities and extends surveillance and detection far beyond what physical patrols alone could ever achieve across such huge areas.
Okay, so what's the main tech? Cameras.
First, yes, video surveillance systems, VSS, or sometimes called Video Management and Surveillance Systems, VMSS, are among the most common and foundational security technologies.
Doing what exactly?
They are critical for assessment, detection, and continuous monitoring of activities across the airfield, indispensable for identifying breaches and unauthorized persons.
Just seeing them helps.
Well, their mere visible presence alone can act as a significant deterrent against intentional breaches. But they also meticulously capture events for record-keeping, incident resolution, and post-incident analysis.
And smarter cameras.
Yes, advanced cameras equipped with video-level motion detection or even more sophisticated video analytics can automatically trigger alarms when activity is detected in remote or specific locations. This allows for prompt dispatch of security personnel.
They need to work together, right?
Integration is key. Integration with access control systems, ACS, and central alarm monitoring is essential. For instance, the Port Authority of NY and NJ explicitly requires tenants, airlines, cargo companies, etc., to stream all their perimeter intrusion detection systems, PS, camera views, directly to the Port Authority Police Department Desk 247.
Constant monitoring. Okay, what else besides cameras?
Second, physical sensors. These have been used by the military for decades and are often cost-effective tools for perimeter breach detection.
What kind of sensors?
These include sensor wires, cables, or contacts placed directly on fences, integrated into structures, or even buried in the ground. They detect vibration, cutting, climbing, or pressure changes.
And the benefit.
They provide an improved ability to respond quickly and prevent intrusions. Their presence or warning signs about them can deter attempts. And if an attempt is made, the decreased response time triggered by the sensor alarm can minimize the impact or prevent the breach altogether.
Where are they usually placed?
Ideally, sensors are placed outside the primary fence line for even earlier notification of an approaching threat. Modern tech also allows integrating these sensors with other security elements, like arresting cables or communication devices like fiber optics, which can detect breaches and transmit data simultaneously.
Efficient. Okay, cameras, sensors. What about controlling who gets in authorized areas?
That brings us to the third pillar, access control systems, ACS. These are fundamental for managing access credentials, who gets in where.
Like keycards.
Yes, electronic card access is common, but increasingly also biometric authentication like fingerprint or retinal scans. These systems restrict employee access to specific sensitive zones, often called back-of-house areas. They prevent unauthorized visitor access and meticulously track entry and exit times.
Where are these most critical?
All doors or portals leading directly to runways or designated security identification display areas, SIDA, or other secured areas must be rigorously controlled by computerized access control systems.
And they have specific requirements.
Yes. These systems must be designed to permit the passage of only one person at a time, using things like high entry-exit turnstiles or sally ports. They have to comply with strict Port Authority and TSA requirements for denial of unauthorized access, immediate audible alarms if something goes wrong, and comprehensive record retention of all access attempts.
And everyone needs credentials.
Critically, yes. No person is permitted within sterile or secured areas without a Port Authority-issued airport security ID or an authorized escort. And everyone, including those under escort, may be subject to screening and background checks via systems like the InfoCorp system. It's all about verifying identity and authorization.
Beyond these foundational technologies, what more advanced systems are being deployed, especially for comprehensive perimeter protection and emergency response? How do they integrate into a cohesive security framework?
It sounds like airports are building a truly sophisticated digital shield.
They are indeed. This takes us to the truly advanced layers, where multiple sophisticated systems are integrated to create a cohesive, intelligent defense.
Like perimeter intrusion detection systems. PIDs. These are advanced, multi-sensor, layered security systems specifically designed for 247 protection. They're not just cameras, they often combine video analytics, radar, thermal imaging, ground sensors, fence sensors, multiple technologies working together
To do what?
to detect and track potential intruders with higher reliability and fewer false alarms. These systems must integrate seamlessly with the airport's Security Operations Centers, SOC, and provide full visual assessment capabilities for any detected alarm so operators can see what's happening.
And who manages these?
Airport tenants are often required to install, monitor 247, and maintain PIDs on their specific leaseholds, ensuring continuous vigilance across the entire airport property, feeding data back to central control.
Okay, well,
Beyond PIDs, automated license plate recognition, LPR systems. These are strategically used by law enforcement at critical vehicular entry points, loading docks, and construction zones for enhanced monitoring and tracking of vehicles.
for emergency communication.
Yes, public safety PSLS radio systems are absolutely essential. These provide robust, dedicated radio frequency coverage for law enforcement, like the PIED, and other first responders. Crucially, these systems must be independent and entirely separate from commercial cellular networks to ensure resilient communication during emergencies when cell networks might be overloaded or down.
And detecting dangerous materials.
Increasingly, yes. Airports are deploying CBRNE detection systems, that stands for chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosive.
Now,
If installed, these specialized sensors must have the capability to report back to existing police CBRNE software systems, their technical configuration, what substances they detect, how they communicate. The alarm logic must be approved by the airport authority, like the Port Authority, to ensure consistent detection and response protocols across the airport.
and protecting buildings themselves.
Finally, yes, a critical aspect is blast-resistant materials and hardening. This includes using blast-resistant facades and glazing, structural elements designed to withstand explosions, physical ballistic screening to interrupt sightlines to critical components like electrical substations.
Making them harder targets.
Exactly. Hardening measures also extend to protecting buried electrical utility duct banks, power transmission, and communications systems. And in today's world, this crucially includes robust cyber attack defenses. Cybersecurity policies for tenant IT networks are explicitly mandated, recognizing the digital frontier of modern security threats. It's a multi-layered, technologically advanced approach for comprehensive defense.
We've talked a lot about physical and technological barriers in airport security, but ultimately security and safety in aviation, whether it's maintenance, operations, design, depend profoundly on people, don't they?
Absolutely. The human element is inescapable and, frankly, central.
So what role do human factors play in aviation, and how are they addressed to prevent accidents and enhance performance?
Right. Well, what's fascinating here is how the focus has shifted over time, recognizing the indispensable nature of human interaction within these complex systems. Human factors isn't just one thing, it's a truly multidisciplinary field.
Drawing from different areas.
Yes, it draws insights from clinical psychology, experimental psychology, anthropometrics, that's the study of human body measurements, computer science, cognitive science, safety engineering, medical science, organizational psychology, educational psychology, industrial engineering. Quite a list.
Wow. And the goal?
The overarching goal, especially in aviation maintenance and inspection, is to systematically identify and optimize the myriad factors that affect human performance. And this focus isn't just on the individual technician, it extends to the entire engineering and technical organization.
A whole system.
Exactly. Recognizing that systemic and environmental factors profoundly influence individual performance. It seeks to understand how people can work more efficiently and consistently maintain high work performance, ultimately leading to safer operations.
How did this field of human factors even come about in aviation? Was it always a central concern, or was there a pivotal moment that sparked this shift in thinking?
Oh, definitely not always a central concern. The historical context reveals a significant evolution in understanding. Prior to World War I, the compatibility between humans and machines was largely just trial and error.
How so?
If a human could somehow figure out how to operate a machine, they were accepted. If not, they were simply rejected. There was little systematic consideration of human capabilities or limitations in the design process itself.
When did that start to change?
A significant shift, surprisingly, emerged even earlier, during the American Civil War. Questions arose about the usability of mass-produced uniforms and new weapons for soldiers' early recognition of human-machine interface issues.
Okay.
But it was really World War I, from 1914 to 1918, with the development of more sophisticated aircraft equipment, that truly exposed the inability of personnel to effectively use such complex systems. This directly led to a burgeoning interest in human capability and its interaction with technology.
So the tech got ahead of the training.
In a way, yes. Initially, the focus of this new field, aviation psychology, was almost exclusively on the pilot. But as technology advanced, the focus gradually shifted to the aircraft itself, including the critical design of controls and displays, and the profound effects of altitude and environmental factors on pilots.
Research started then.
Yes, this era saw the genesis of aeromedical research and the development of systematic testing methods. By the end of World War I, two pivotal aeronautical labs were established, one at Brooks Air Force Base in Texas, another at Wright Field near Dayton, Ohio, laying the groundwork for modern human factors research. Even the Wright brothers themselves spearheaded human factors considerations in their designs.
So fast forward to today. What specific human elements or conditions are identified as critical risks in aviation maintenance and safety? How they manifest? What are the biggest people problems in the safety chain?
Right. The core of modern human factors programs focuses specifically on the physical, physiological, psychological, and psychosocial aspects of the people actually doing the work. There are several key elements that, if not properly managed, can significantly compromise performance and tragically lead to incidents or accidents.
Like what?
First, and perhaps most commonly discussed, is fatigue.
Just being tired.
Well, it's more complex. While tiredness is a symptom, a fatigued person may surprisingly feel wide awake and engaged, masking their impairment. The primary cause is a fundamental lack of restful sleep free from drugs or alcohol.
And it's dangerous in maintenance.
Particularly dangerous when working alone in aviation maintenance, where lives depend on procedures being done with exceptionally high proficiency without error.
Okay, fatigue. What else?
Closely related is circadian rhythm. This is a person's natural internal daily cycle of performance. Physiological variables like body temperature, heart rate, alertness, attention, they naturally rise and fall predictably.
The body clock.
Exactly. Working against this natural rhythm, like during night shifts or irregular schedules, can be extremely difficult and significantly impair performance, often without the person consciously realizing how much their capacity is diminished.
Right. What about resources?
Yes, lack of resources. This interferes with completing a task effectively because there's an insufficient supply or support, or if available products are low quality. In maintenance, this could be not having the proper tools or the correct parts.
Seems obvious, but critical.
Absolutely. And the absence of a functioning system, even one considered typically not needed for flight, can create critical problems if that system is suddenly required unexpectedly.
Okay. And communication.
Finally, and perhaps most critically from a communication standpoint, is lack of assertiveness communication. This is a profound flaw where individuals fail to speak up, express concerns, or challenge a decision when something just doesn't seem right.
Fear of speaking out.
It can be. This lack of communication, or the inability to assert a correct course of action, has tragically been identified as a contributing factor in many fatal aviation accidents.
So how do you fix that?
Promoting good communication between coworkers, fostering open, trusting relationships with supervisors and management is essential. Managers need to understand their employees' behavioral styles and actively learn to utilize their team's talents, experience, and wisdom to promote assertive behavior and ensure critical feedback is both given and received. Open dialogue is a cornerstone of safety.
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
can you provide concrete examples of how these human factors have contributed to real-world aviation incidents, and what specific mitigation strategies are put in place to address them?
Absolutely. The lessons from real-world incidents vividly illustrate the catastrophic consequences of human factors breakdowns. It's not theoretical.
Give us an example.
Consider the Lufthansa Airbus A320 incident on August 26, 1993. During takeoff from Gatwick, the aircraft exhibited an undemanded roll to the right, completely unexpected.
What happened?
This dangerous condition persisted, requiring the pilot to constantly apply significant left side stick input just to maintain control. The flight control system was degraded. The cause: reversed wiring of the flight controls during maintenance.
A simple wiring mistake.
A seemingly simple human error, but one that could easily have led to a fatal crash. It highlights how a seemingly minor mistake, if unchecked, can have devastating ripple effects.
Another example.
A more tragic one is Alaska Airlines Flight 261, which suffered a fatal crash. The investigation attributed it, in part, to insufficient lubrication of the jack screw assembly, a critical component for controlling the plane's pitch.
A maintenance oversight.
A clear maintenance oversight where human factors, potential complacency, lack of attention to detail during a routine task, maybe inadequate communication about the task's criticality played a significant role. The cumulative effect led to catastrophic mechanical failure.
So how do we mitigate these risks?
Continuous vigilance and a robust safety culture are absolutely crucial. It's not just one thing. Strategies include, first, checking for conflicts with existing modifications or repairs before starting new work.
Avoiding compatibility issues.
Right. Second, and equally vital, is to always have others check critical work, even if the person doing it is highly proficient. That redundancy catches errors.
The second pair of eyes principle.
Exactly. And maintenance managers have a profound responsibility to actively learn and utilize their employees' talents and experience, creating an environment that promotes assertive behavior and open communication without fear of reprisal.
Addressing that communication gap.
Yes, this directly addresses what are often collectively called the dirty dozen human factors in maintenance proficiency. These 12 common factors: lack of teamwork, fatigue, lack of resources, pressure, lack of assertiveness, stress, lack of awareness, norms like unwritten rules, complacency, lack of knowledge, distraction, and lack of communication are constantly emphasized in safety training to prevent human error from becoming human tragedy.
We've now completed our comprehensive deep dive into how modern society attempts to secure its vital aviation infrastructure, from robust physical barriers to sophisticated technology, and crucially, the indispensable human element. Let's synthesize the key insights one last time.
Okay, a final run-through. We started with ancient survival, seeing how early humans used bear hides 300,000 years ago. Then the controversial human hibernation hypothesis based on bone pathologies, suggesting ancient metabolic slowdown.
Linked to modern concepts like suspended animation, seen in stowaways and explored for medicine and space travel.
Right. Then high-altitude effects, defining the categories, the deadly lack of oxygen in the death zone above 8,000 meters, and conditions like HAPI and HACAC.
Contrasting short-term acclimatization with long-term genetic adaptation in high-altitude populations.
Then we shifted to modern perils. The peril of stowaways, with its staggering 76–90% fatality rate, driven by desperation and accessing planes through security gaps.
And their horrific physiological challenges in wheel wells: extreme hypoxia, extreme cold, decompression sickness, ADI, and crushing injuries. We noted the oxygen treatment for ADI.
Which led us to airport perimeter breaches. Understanding they happen, 100% prevention is impossible due to evolving threats and practical limits, and even nuisance breaches show exploitable vulnerabilities. Classification based on consequences is key.
Then the solutions: perimeter security best practices, a multi-layered defense.
Exactly. Layer 1. Policies and procedures, unpredictable patrols, challenge programs, community awareness.
Layer 2. Physical measures guards, diverse barriers like berms, ditches, jersey barriers, bollards, cable barriers, sally port gates, crash-rated barriers, and strict fence integrity rules, plus reflectivity and signage.
Layer 3. Technology systems, VSS VMS cameras integrated with ACS, access control systems, physical sensors, advanced PIs, LPR for vehicles, PSLS radio for emergencies, CBR need detection, and physical hardening like blast resistance and cybersecurity.
And we discussed airport security operations and tenant responsibilities, how guidelines mandate tenant systems integrate with airport security, require cybersecurity policies, protective design narratives, strict access control, site of sterile areas, cargo screening, and specific aircraft security measures.
Finally, we covered the critical human factors in aviation safety. It's a multidisciplinary field essential for optimizing performance. Key negative factors include fatigue, circadian rhythm disruption, lack of resources, and especially lack of assertiveness and communication failures.
Illustrated by real incidents like the Lufthansa A320 wiring error and the Alaska Airlines 261 lubrication issue, mitigation focuses on checking work, open communication, and management understanding to counter the dirty dozen human factors.
Exactly. That covers the main points.
Great, let's run through the flashcard list one last time.
Okay. Sally port gate. Dual gate access control preventing piggybacking. CCTV, VAS, SEMSS, video surveillance management systems. physical sensors, fence or in-ground sensors for breach detection, access control systems, ACS, managed credentials, biometrics, cards, perimeter intrusion detection systems, PIDS, layered multi-sensor systems, automated license plate recognition, LPR, vehicle tracking, public safety PSLS radio systems, dedicated first responder communication, CBRNE detection systems, detect chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, explosive threats, protective design narrative, PDN, document outlining threat mitigation in design, secured area, sterile area, AOA, zones with strict access controls, human factors, discipline studying human performance in complex systems, fatigue, circadian rhythm, key physiological human factors, lack of assertiveness communication, critical psychosocial human factors, Lufthansa Airbus A320, case study for wiring error, human factor, Alaska Airlines Flight 261, case study for lubrication error, human factor, Dirty Dozen, 12 common human factors in maintenance.
We've taken a remarkable deep dive today, haven't we? Uncovering surprising layers of human ingenuity and vulnerability. From our ancient ancestors' struggle against the cold, all the way to the complex, multi-layered systems safeguarding modern air travel.
We really have.
It's truly a testament to our ongoing quest for survival, safety, and understanding in an ever-changing world.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you see this constant evolution of threats, don't you? Whether they stem from the unforgiving natural environment that tested our ancient ancestors, or the deliberate intent of malicious actors trying to bypass modern security.
Right, the challenge is always changing.
It demands a continuous, integrated approach, one that values both technological innovation and, crucially, that intrinsic human element. Understanding human limitations and capabilities is just as vital for designing safe aircraft systems that prevent physiological collapse as it is for anticipating and defending against cunning security breaches.
So what does this all mean for you, our curious listener? As you move through the world, maybe next time you're at an airport, or even just pondering how our ancestors managed to survive the Ice Age.
Yeah.
Consider the invisible forces at play. Those ancient adaptations perhaps etched into our biology, the cutting-edge technology protecting our public spaces, and the meticulous, often unseen human effort that underpins our modern existence.
And this raises an important question, perhaps something to think about. If human survival in extreme environments can sometimes involve a state as profound as suspended animation,
Right.
and if our security systems constantly adapt to the most cunning and desperate human threats, what truly unexpected adaptations or threats might emerge in the next century that we're only just beginning to conceive? What new challenges will push the boundaries of human endurance and our systems of protection in ways we can barely imagine today?
Something profound to mull over until our next deep dive.